Welcome to the Rutledge Perspective Podcast 2022. I cannot believe it. We actually made it. And I want to take this opportunity to say, if you've already gotten off track on your words, welcome to my village. I can't even believe it. But here's the good news. It's just day 3. Or by the time this podcast drops, it'll be day 4. And there's plenty of time. And I want to take this episode, the first episode of the podcast for 2022, and talk a little bit about this whole idea of Happy You Year. And I said that probably a couple of years ago and said my New Year's thing was Happy You Year, to really focus on you. And I used it again last year to really think about, self-care and being courageous. And then as I thought about it this year and said, well, I'll do my Happy You Year. I'm like, is that getting old? And well, maybe, but I really mean it this year, right? I know I said it 2 years in a row, but I really mean it this year. Well, I don't know about you guys, but as the year ended and we had all of this kind of stuff going on, I was doing the same thing everyone else was doing, right? Trying to get cleaned up, trying to make sure I didn't drag stuff into 2022 that I wanted to let go. And part of that was really getting set around what my intentions were going to be and what my words were going to be. And as you guys know, I'm not a vision board person, but I am an intention setter. And as I was thinking through all of that, my process, as usually happens, things just download to me at about 2 a.m. usually when my brain wakes up. And so the words that came to me this year were discipline and consistency. Discipline and consistency. So making sure that I pay attention to staying true to the vision, right? And then consistently showing up. Notice I didn't say perfection, because as Holly Dowling said, you do not have to be perfect to be priceless, right? I'm not looking for perfection, but just consistency. It's just what I tell all of my leaders. It's, treating people the same and being perfect is making sure everybody gets a blue shirt. But being consistent just means everybody gets something, right? That's consistency. So setting myself up to be disciplined around the pursuit of the purpose that has gotten clearer and clearer to me, and consistent in showing up and being mindful of how I'm showing up. And it was a great end of the year, right? That Thursday and Friday and New Year's Eve and everything is great. And as you know, the holidays are pretty tough for us, right? My father passed away on New Year's Eve in 96. And so New Year's Eve has not been great for a long time. But I usually am home and can just kind of marinate and evaluate and try to stay away from the gunfire in Texas, all those kind of things. And as I got ready then into the new year, I thought this is going to be fine. We're going to just get up on New Year's Day and we're going to kick off this great year. And I got up and I did my walk. In my meditation, I listened to a fantastic podcast again, Hidden Brain, which I love. And some of the things that came out of that, I'll be talking about on the radio show and further on this month. But then I got home and I thought, this is great. And then it just kind of cratered from there. And all of a sudden, like the anxiety kicked in. And all of a sudden thinking about, yes, all of the stuff that I'd prepped and ready to go, but all of the things I still had left to do. And the golf lessons I wanted to take up again, and getting my Spanish going, and getting sponsors for the radio show, and getting everything going for the podcast so we can get advertising there. I mean, on and on and on, right? The list kept growing. And I felt myself getting more and more and more anxious. And I thought, this is just day 1. Laurel, give yourself a break. Self-care. Put your mask on first. It's all good. We're just going to kind of rest and relax today. We'll pick it up tomorrow. Got up Sunday. Did my meditation with church and everything, ready to go. And the same thing. It's like I could not physically pick up pad and paper to do my drawing and to do because I'm visual. So I like colored pens and all of that. I could not even pick it up. I don't know what the problem was, but I just could not. It was like this level of paralysis. And when I had my therapy session this morning, I said, I don't know what that was. It was just very strange. Now, it wasn't debilitating. I've been there. I've been where you just want to crawl back into bed and cover up. I've been there. That's not what this was. There was almost this curiosity around it. Like, I don't know why I am paralyzed, but I also had kind of this energy to say, no, this is what you want to do and you want to get it done. But it's like I couldn't move into action. And what I realized, and I'll talk about this some more this month, is there's another component around the words, right? There's the word, being disciplined or being consistent. Or last year it was about clarity, conviction, right? And compassion, being compassionate about things, showing those things to myself and others. Surrendering, because that's still on the list this week, this year, because I didn't quite get that one right. So I'm doing a do-over on surrender. But all of those things are really, kind of about what you're going to do, right? That action thing, which is good. I'm going to move forward into my purpose and all of these kind of things. But what it doesn't necessarily directly address is what is the real heart-centered, soul-centered behavioral mantra I'm going to have, right? So at the end of last year, it was trust yourself. Trust yourself. That's my behavioral mantra. In this moment, you are enough. In this moment, you have everything you need. Trust yourself. So my behavioral mantra was every time I felt the death spiral, wait, trust yourself. Let's switch that behavior. Trust yourself, right? Those kind of things. My mantra that I wrote at my manifesto. This year, my behavioral mantra is really about curiosity. Be curious in all things. I spoke about curiosity several times over this podcast and about how I truly believe curiosity is a superpower. I also believe it is an absolute necessity for leaders. Being curious about a business, being curious about the people that work for you, being curious about how things work and where things go, because that curiosity turns you into an active listener, right? Because you're listening to understand, not to respond, because you're curious. That's one of the reasons I was really good at HR is because I was curious. I was curious about the business. What are the levers? What made things move, right? What drove the revenue? How did we say things and how are they aligned? I was curious about our business and curious about our people. Now, don't get me wrong. There's a difference between curious and nosy, right? I didn't need to know everybody's business, didn't want to know, especially in HR. There's just stuff I don't need to know. But curious about what makes people tick, what they're interested in, what their desires are, really understanding the agendas. That curiosity is important. And so when I think about this year and being disciplined and being consistent, the thing that engulfs all of that and surrounds all of those words for me and surrendering again is remembering at the crux of all of it, at my foundation, is curiosity. I want to be creative. I want to understand what all of my clients are really dealing with. I want to listen and really, really actively understand what it is that they're going through so that I can deliver a solution that makes sense. As leaders, that's what's so important, is that we are curious about the situation so that we can deliver solutions that matter, solutions that match, that we can be innovative. This podcast that I listened to, The Hidden Brain, which was fabulous. Again, the woman was talking about rebel talent. And she is a Harvard Business School professor. And she talked about rebel talent. And one of the things she talked about, which I've talked with so many people about, so it was actually kind of a gratification, like, oh, this is a Harvard business professor. And she's saying the same thing I've been saying for years, which is, there is value in experience. Experience is really, really important, right? There is value there. That is something that helps us move forward and catapults us and enables us to move swiftly. But there's a downside to experience, which is experience can sometimes completely stifle our creativity because we get really comfortable in our experience and it prevents us from being humble, prevents us from being willing to be vulnerable and be a beginner and say, I don't know. Because if you've been working for 30 years, what do you mean you don't know? People look to you because you're supposed to know. So that experience can kind of get us out of that curiosity mindset, out of that humility, out of that true servant leadership bent. And so when I think about the behavioral mantra that I intend to put around these words of discipline and consistency and giving myself some grace, because I know I'm not going to be perfect. There are going to be days when I just don't quite make it, or that I hit dead center dorsal and I just have to go to bed and pull the covers up over my head. I'm going to give myself some grace. But if I can remind myself about the behavioral mantra of staying curious, because that curiosity can also say, Laurel, why are you feeling that way? What is it that triggered that? What is making this anxiety so crazy right now? And so I challenge you going into this year to, one, yes, put your mask on first. Exercise some self-care. Make sure that you are taking care of you. Get your words or your vision board, set your intentions, all of the things you want for this year. But along with that, make sure that you are thinking through, what is the behavior that's critical for you? What is the behavioral mantra you're going to surround all of that activity with so that when it gets really crazy, you've got something to go back to. You've got something to rest upon. I encourage you to find out what that is. Again, for me, that is curiosity. And I'd love to know what your behavioral mantra is going to be for this year. So happy New Year 2022. I am claiming and believing it is going to be a fabulous year. There is so much in store. There are so many things that we can take with us and do. It is going to be a busy year. It's going to be a tough year. We have midterm elections in the United States this year. So it is going to be another crazy, mad, insane year, not to mention the continuation of COVID and this Omicron variant. But it is also a year that we have 2 years of learning around, 2 years of figuring out what is important, 2 years of figuring out how to maneuver and manage and be with family and friends and be with ourselves in very tough situations. We have really had our resilience challenged, and I believe that we have done an exceptional job under the circumstances of being resilient and figuring things out. And I am claiming that we're going to continue to do that into 2022, and it is going to be a fantabulous year. Thank you so much for joining me again on the Rutledge Perspective podcast. I am excited to come to you for another year and to bring you some really great little nuggets for you to latch onto. Please drop me a line. Let me know what you would like to talk about. Also, coming up in 2022, there's going to be a quarterly event, actually 3 quarterly events for you. There's going to be a free event every quarter that is getting grounded. It's going to be a 5-day email challenge or series where I give you something to do for 5 days. And it is a different question each day. And then I'll jump on live for about 15 minutes, really short. So it's very unobtrusive, right? The whole idea is for you to be able to spend time with you to really get grounded. Because when your feet are solid, you can move really easily and you can adjust and adapt and be flexible. The next thing that's going to happen once a quarter is a masterclass. It's only going to be an hour and a half. It's going to be 1 day. That's really about clarifying your vision and how you can know where you're going so you can decide what path you need to take. So that's going to be about an hour and a half. And both of those are going to be free. I'm also going to be developing a 30-day thing for you that's coming. So you'll see that on my website with coming soon. And finally, for the amazing, incredible women out there, there is going to be a Empowerment Academy that'll be starting. The first one will be starting in February of 2022. And it's going to be very small groups, 10 to 12 people max, 10 to 12 women max. And the whole idea is to really get you solid and moving forward and moving into empowered action. Because I believe we're all empowered. We all have agency. It's just about having the courage, right? The curiosity to really step into that empowerment to move towards the career or the business or the life that you say you want. How can we get you there? So have a fantastic rest of your week. Please continue to join me, like, share, review. I love it. And I will continue to bring as much as I can to you as often as I can. Take care, and we'll catch you on the other side. You've been watching The Rutledge Perspective. Thank you for tuning in. If we have given you a different perspective, or if you've learned something new that you hadn't thought about before, please subscribe to the Rutledge Perspective podcast where you get your favorite podcasts, and give us a like on iTunes or Google Play or Stitcher. We really appreciate it. And your feedback is important as well, as we use that to inform our next episodes. You can also head over to my website, laurelrutledge.com, and download a freebie called Where's My Mojo that can really help you get out of your rut or maybe talk you back off that ledge of frustration. You can also find previous episodes of The Rutledge Perspective on laurelrutledge.com. I really appreciate your tuning in. Thank you so much, and we'll see you next time.